Hi, students. Welcome back to school. We are going to continue our work with the giver. It is day 6, Monday, August 3rd. We are reading chapter 3 and 4 today in class. If we don't get to finish during class time, then you can use your conference time or any other independent reading time, or you can also finish for homework. But we should get finished reading in class today. Before we get started and jump into our focus for today, which is point of view, I have a do now question that I either want you to stop and jot down your answer if you are in the independent station, or we will discuss in the direct instruction station. It says, think about all the rules in Jonas's community. Which rule would you eliminate and which rule would you add? I'm going to extend that a little bit and think about the rules as well as the rituals. So take a minute or so to stop and jot down your answer, or we're going to take about 2 minutes to discuss. I want to quickly preview your assessment exit ticket for today. It says, how has Lowry, which is the author, developed Jonas's point of view regarding the community in this chapter? In other words, what does Jonas think of his community? Use evidence to support your response. And a lot of times I put pictures on to kind of jog your memory of what that chapter or those chapters are all about. So pay attention to the pictures. Let's dive into point of view. Authors develop point of view, or you may hear me refer to it as POV in several different ways. One, of course, first is narration. A story can be told in first or third person point of view. Third person point of view can either be limited or omniscient. Limited means that we only hear from one person's we hear an outside person telling the story, but we hear one main character's feelings. Omniscient means that we hear more than one character's feelings throughout the story. First person point of view is usually very, very clear because it's that main character telling us the story. Another way the author develops point of view is through inner dialogue, by allowing us to hear what the character is thinking. And it's usually expressed explicitly, but sometimes we have to kind of figure out what they're thinking by the word choice and what they choose to say. Dialogue is another way that that authors develop point of view. Dialogue with other characters. You can tell a lot through a conversation that a character is having. And also the character's actions. What is the character doing? Why did they do it? What motivated them to do that? We can really figure out what the character's point of view is as well, or what point of view the author is trying to develop. Let's take a look at Divergent, which we had to read over the weekend. I'm going to quickly read this, and I'm going to point out some things that you should automatically notice or take note of to figure out the point of view of a story. It says, our classes are cut in half today, so we will attend all of them before the aptitude test, which takes place after lunch. My heart rate is already elevated. You aren't all worried about what tell you? I asked Caleb. We paused at the split in the hallway where he will go one way toward advanced math and I will go the other toward faction history. He raises an eyebrow at me. Are you? I could tell him I've been worried for weeks about what the aptitude test will tell me: abnegation, candor, erudite, amity, or dauntless. Instead, I smile and say, not really. So the first thing that I want you to notice are the words that I have highlighted, like our, we, my, I, over and over. This definitely tells me that this is in a first person point of view. One of the main characters is the narrator who is telling the story. If Go to the next slide and you will see a quick picture of what each point of view is. First, second, third. Second is rarely used, and then it also tells you and breaks down what third person limited means and third person omniscient. So take about 30 seconds to read over this and pay attention to the pronouns that are used for first person and third person. Let's continue with Divergent, the same piece of text. What I highlighted here, it says my heart rate is already elevated. And I could tell him I've been worried for weeks about what the aptitude test will tell me. Instead, I smile. So here, the narrator is kind of telling us how he's feeling physically, by telling us that his heart rate is elevated. That basically says he's nervous. He's not. He's very unsure about what is going to happen to him. But these are the things that he's thinking. He in his conversation with his brother, he's contemplating whether he should tell him how he's truly feeling, but he decides not to, and he just says instead, I smile. So he's kind of hiding his feelings. But these are the characters' kind of inner thoughts and inner feelings, that he is revealing to us as he tells the story. If you see in this part, what I have highlighted, I have the dialogue between the narrator and his brother. He says, "You aren't all worried about what they'll tell you?" I asked Caleb. He raises an eyebrow at me. "Are you?" And then at the end of this conversation, he says, "Not really," which he's basically lying to his brother because he is worried. He is very, very unsure. And he is showing this throughout the conversation. So the point of view and the perspective of the narrator can be developed and revealed through the use of dialogue with another character. We can really figure out how the character is thinking, what the character is thinking, what the character is feeling, through that conversation. Now let's take a look at the giver. This part of the giver is a major part. It says, I'm going to read it very quickly for you and then point out some things about point of view. It says he had waited a long time for the special December. Now that it was almost upon him, he wasn't frightened, but he was eager for it to come, and he was excited, certainly. All of the 11th were excited about the event that would be coming so soon. But there was a little shudder of nervousness when he thought about it, about what might happen. Apprehensive, Jonas decided. That's what I am. Who wants to be the first tonight for feelings? Jonas's father asked at the conclusion of their evening meal. It was one of the rituals, the evening telling their feelings. But like all parents, all adults, they didn't fight and wheedle for their turn. Nor did Jonas tonight. His feelings were too complicated this evening. He wanted to share them, but he wasn't eager to begin the process of sifting through his own complicated emotions, even with the help that he knew his parents could give. You go, Lily, he said. So I'm going to quickly go back to this slide right here, and you see I have lots of pronouns highlighted in this slide for the giver. This comes from page 4 and 5, and you see I have pronouns like he and his, and also Jonas's name. This tells me that this is a third person point of view narration. Jonas is not telling the story; it's someone outside of the story telling the story, and it is third person limited, because we really only get to hear Jonas's feelings mainly. Um, the next slide I have highlighted, it says, but there was a little shudder of nervousness when he thought about it, about what might happen. Apprehensive, Jonas decided. That's what I am. Even though this story is being told in third person, the author allows us, the reader, to hear the character's inner thoughts and feelings, that he is still the way he's very nervous about the upcoming ceremony in December. The next slide, same text. I have the conversation highlighted. It says, "Who wants to be first for feelings?" Jonas' father asked. And then Jonas says at the end, he says, "You go, Lily," he said. So from this dialogue, it reveals how nervous Jonas actually is. Well, apprehensive, that's the better word that Jonas came up with, about sharing his feelings and about the upcoming ceremony. He is so nervous that he tries to avoid his turn by letting his sister go first. But we know this won't happen because this is part of their ritual. As you read today, you are going to find examples the author used in the text to develop Jonas's point of view. And you see my picture, it's upside down on purpose because it says that from another point of view. You have to see things the way the character sees them. The following two slides are vocabulary words that you should stop and pause and jot down the the definitions for, and you will need them later on